What's going on, guys? This is Misfit. Welcome back to OverTakes. And today we're doing my Week 4 preview for NA. We're going to talk about the standings, a couple of the big matches we got going on, some scenarios that possibly could happen with the Kickoff Clash, who can get in, who has a shot on the outside maybe coming in. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. Thank you very, very much for all of your support. All you guys have been coming in for a day or for 5 years. You're greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. If you're new, just checking out the show, thanks a lot for stopping by. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. All right, we're in the final week of the first tournament cycle for the Overwatch League, which is hard to believe, actually. I did an APAC preview yesterday. That went up. We talked about all the matches that were going on there. A lot of teams, a lot of things going on as we speak, or some of them probably completed by the time this goes up. But we're going to talk about NA today. We're going to hit all of the big matches in North America. There are a couple of them that are going to be huge. More for seeding than anything else going on here. I don't think there's going to be too much outside teams dropping out, teams going up, unless the Gladiators have a bad weekend, like lose to London or something. Well, we'll go over those scenarios in a second. There was a little bit of, I don't know if it was news, but apparently Muse and Finale were having issues with Toronto. Halo posted something that they requested a trade, and then Muse posted something saying he didn't, and it was a whole thing. Drama with Toronto. You can tell, everybody can say what they want, but, sometimes things are said in rooms. You don't know who's in there and who's going to say something. So whatever happened. It's not that big of a deal, but it kind of is. If you watch how they played last week, they did not look good. It was not a good look. I did not like. They just looked disjointed. They didn't look at all good. They looked like I originally said that they were going to look like. I didn't think they were going to be. Everyone's saying that they're this team that's going to be 4th, 5th, NA. Pump your brakes, guys. I don't see it. And it's kind of coming to fruition a little bit. Not that I want that. I want the opposite, actually. They're the closest team in proximity to me where I live in Cleveland. I want to see them do good. They're like the closest thing I have to a local esports team in an esport that I watch. It's unfortunate that this stuff is happening, but you can see how it's happening. They're not performing great. Yeah, they've won a couple games. They beat Houston. They've had a couple of bad games too, though. They got absolutely crucified by the Justice. And Dallas 3-0 owed them, but that was... All right, that's a fair loss on their part. Dallas is just better than they are. They shouldn't have gotten beat that bad by the Justice, but it's the Justice, so I don't know what to think of them ever. So, problems going on there, but I guess it's resolved. But it's resolved as far as in the press and in the public, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And their gameplay, we'll have to see what happens this week. They have one game left, and they're playing New York, which I think they can take care of pretty handily. Now, if they look like they did last weekend against Boston, they won 3-1, but it was not a good 3-1, let's put it that way. Anyway, and you could make all the excuses and say Boston looks better and this and that and blah and blah and blah. Toronto should beat Boston, period, and not look like crap in doing it. But that's the news that that's been floating around today, which is Wednesday. But let's get into the real heat of why we're here. Now, not to talk about soap opera stuff on the Defiant or any other team for that matter. Let's talk about the Kickoff Clash, where we're at, what teams are looking like as far as getting in, standings-wise, and all of that fun stuff that we got going on. Then we'll talk about the teams we're going to watch this weekend, and we got 2 matches that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk Mayhem Justice, Glads, and the Reign. This has gone from a all Texas podcast to an all fucking Los Angeles podcast now. The only team in Los Angeles. I'm not talking, I talk a little Valiant, but the team playing, living, dealing with their stuff in Los Angeles. Okay, so let's go over the standings really quick. First, we have the Shock, 5-0, plus 11 map differential. Second place, Dallas, 4-1, plus 7 map differential. Atlanta, third, 3-1, with a +5 map differential. Florida in 4th, 3-2 +5. Houston, 5th, 3-2 +4. Washington, 3-2 +2 in 6th. 7th, we have the Defiant at 3-2 with a +1. And the Gladiators in 8th, 2-2 with a +2. And the Glads are the cutoff. Below them, we have London at 2-2 -1. Boston 2-3 -3. New York 1-4. Not going to talk about that. Vancouver, Paris, blah blah blah. With those bottom 3 teams, even London and Boston, they really don't have a chance. So there's a lot of things that can happen here as far as seeding goes, in my opinion. You think the Gladiators could potentially move up. They got a big game against the Reign late in the week, but they play London first match. That should give them a couple of maps and a win. Toronto has New York. That should give them another win. And so a couple of positive maps on that. At least, should be at least 3-1, you would think, with the way New York's playing. Justice have the Mayhem. That's going to be a tough one. They're sitting at 3-2 +2. They win, say, they could go +4 at 4-2. That puts them up pretty good because you got Atlanta playing the Gladiators. They also, I believe, they have the Spitfire. So I don't think you can get map differential in Atlanta. You beat Florida, you're going to jump up, and you're going to knock Florida down. So, I mean, that's the Justice's MO. Beat Florida this weekend, you're golden. You probably move up in the standings. Houston, they're +4 at 3-2. They have the Eternal, so no problems there. That should put them, they play to their ability, and the way Paris has been playing in this tournament cycle, it should be 3 maps. It should put them 4-2 +7 maps. That should vault them up pretty high. Florida's got Washington. We talked about that. Florida wins, they're 4-2 at either +6 or +7. I doubt it's going to be +8 unless the Justice do Justice things, and who knows. Atlanta, they're probably going to stick where they're at, maybe move down if they lose to the Glads, because they have 2 matches this weekend. They have London and they have the Gladiators, so they should pick up some maps, and they could pick up 2 wins. And that would if they pick up both wins, that makes them 5-1. And that puts them in range with Dallas and San Francisco, who both have cakes this weekend. Shock have Vancouver, and Dallas has Boston. So those teams aren't going to lose. You're looking at fighting for the 2 seed with Dallas. So obviously, for Atlanta, they're going to want to get as many maps as they can against London. They're going to want to 3-0 them. That would put them at 4-1 +8 going into the Gladiators match. Dallas, same thing. They're just going to want to smoke Boston. 3-0 puts them at +10. One map potentially. Actually, it would still be 3 because I'm assuming the Shock, unless they play with their food against Vancouver and they put Violet on fucking McCree or Cassidy or something. Who knows? They put Rascal in. Maybe they'll bring Rascal for a match. Super comes out of retirement and plays Zarya. Just an off tank. They're gonna play Wrecking Ball comps. They're working on next stage or something. Who knows? That's not gonna happen. Dallas takes care of business against Boston. They should be solidified in that too, unless Atlanta sweeps. If Atlanta sweeps Boston, or London, that would put them at +8. In order to vault, they'd have to get 2 3-0s this weekend to go ahead of Dallas by 1 map to get the 2 seed. They could tie Dallas, but I don't know what the tiebreaker scenario is for that. Common opponent would be, if they're going on that, I think it's Washington, and Washington 3-0'd the Reign. And I think Dallas smoked them for the first week of the season, maybe. Yeah, they beat them 3-0. So if it's common opponent for the tiebreaker, Dallas has it. So they got a 3-0 the Spitfire and the Gladiators. First one is doable. Second one, daunting task. So you're probably looking at Atlanta 3, unless the Gladiators can't do it. No one else can catch them if they win both matches. Now, if they lose to the Gladiators, then they're in the mix with the Houstons, the Washingtons, the Torontos, and the Mayhems. of the world. That I don't have time in the day to go over all of that scenario. That's going to take a long time. But that's the standings for the Kickoff Clash. Let's do the schedule. We'll talk about teams, and then we'll talk about our 2 matches, and then I'll give you my pick'ems for NA to close out the show. So, schedule this week. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Gladiators taking on the London Spitfire, followed by Toronto taking on New York, finishing the day off with the Shock taking on the Titans. On the Saturday, we have London taking on Atlanta, followed by Houston taking on Paris, and then everything wraps up on Saturday with the Mayhem taking on the Justice. Sunday, we have 2 matches at 3 and 4:30. I'm assuming they're going to have a big play-in show, or maybe there's a leaving time in case they have to do a tiebreaker match or something like that. As long as it's not a coin flip like 2 years or 3 years ago in 2019, like if you guys remember that. Please no. Was that 3 years ago? I don't know. I don't know what it was. There was that coin flip fucking thing that was ridiculous. Let's not do that. But we have, starting with that, we have Dallas taking on Boston, followed by the Reign and the Gladiators. So that's the schedule for week 4. Now, teams we're going to watch this weekend, they're games that are kind of meh. There's a lot of bad teams playing teams that need to win. Obviously, we're going to watch, and this is for just going forward into the tournament too. I'm looking at watching Toronto to see what happens after all the drama we just talked about and their poor performance against Boston. Though they pulled out a win, how are they going to play? Are they going to play better, although it was shaky at best? Are they going to be able to beat New York and sustain this and work things out and get into the tournament and do things like everybody else expects them to do, except for me? Also, I want to see Houston continue. They're kind of like shifting away from the doom, which seems to be going out. I know everybody's yip-yapping about Zarya, and Piggy and this and that, the way that he's playing that and the Sigma stuff and all, whatever. They need to take care of business against Paris. I want to see how quickly they dispose of them. If they're having trouble and they're, just mucking around and it doesn't look good, that's concerning if you're a Houston fan. But on the other hand, I'll play devil's advocate to myself on this. They could be trying to work out some different comps, and this is a good game to do that. You could get a 3-0 against Paris. They're not playing well. They're kind of uncoordinated. There's a lot of shit going on there that we don't know about, I'm assuming, the way it feels with Paris. Houston needs to take care of business. Obviously, we have Glad's Reign. That's a big game. We're going to be watching that. Same thing with Justice Mayhem. We're talking about both those 2 matches. And the other matches are of no concern, really. You're looking at Atlanta Spitfire, Glad Spitfire, and Shock Titans, and Dallas Boston. Those are 4 of the best teams in the conference. So you gotta expect them to, at minimal, 3-1 these teams. That's a bad day. Maybe they put subs in. Maybe they try something out new, like I was saying with Houston. Kind of get themselves in a surprise. Well, maybe not a surprise, but, pull something out. Like maybe they work on some of that Ash Briggs stuff that everyone's trying over in the East on certain situations. You work on your Sigma comps if you have Circuit Royale or another map that's like that, where you could possibly use Sigma. There's things that you could do in these matches. So yeah, the teams to watch are mostly the teams in the middle, and a couple of them are playing each other in the Justice and the Mayhem. So obviously you're going to be watching that and seeing how both teams fare in this, because they're big. This is also a big test for both these teams. We're going to talk about it in about 1 minute and dive into it a little bit for further looks into the tournament itself and beyond for these 2 teams. We also don't know what's going on beta-wise and all that stuff. They could drop something for... I don't think they're doing it for the next... I think the next tournament they're going to be on the patch that we ended the beta with, where you had the soldier nerfs and you had the Zen kick. I want to know who's the first Owl player that's going to get the first Zen kick kill. Environmental. Let's put that down in the comments. Who's going to get the first Zen kick kill next tournament? I want to know. Jonak was always good at that, but he's not in the league anymore. I couldn't imagine giving him that boop in Season 1. That would be amazing. Anyway, back to reality. So those are the teams I'm going to watch. I went on a little tangent. My excitement about watching someone get environmental by fucking Zen aside, let's talk about Mayhem and the Justice. Okay, my boys, the Florida Mayhem, taking on the team that drives me fucking mad. Oh, you guys already know where this is going. We're back here this year. I'm on my team's train. Look, this is going to be a tough match, though. If Washington doesn't do what they did against Boston, which sometimes they're like a... Let's talk Washington for a second. You know, I get on them a lot, but there are a lot of teams, if you guys watch professional sports, they play down to the competition or play up to it. When the match or a game is important, some teams rise up and they play and hang with the teams they're really good. But they get a team like Washington got with Boston, and they just are like, they're not invested. They did not look invested against Boston. And that's concerning if you're a Washington fan, because they look like a disaster. And Boston gave them a fucking map. That's the scary thing with that one. All the meme talk aside and all that with Washington, and I've heard other people say this, it might be time for them to go Kalios on the Zarya instead of Mag. Mag is, I don't know, him and Decay just don't mesh well together at points. There are times when Decay has to, and you know, I don't think he minds hard carrying. Everyone who plays DPS or anything in the game, yeah, you want to be the shine guy. But it seems like a lot of times in this match, or in these matches with Washington, they have guys that want to end it, or do I want to be the guy, or I have to be the guy. They all have that mentality. And it sends them off into directions and things where they're overcommitting, over everything. They're just not thinking through, not watching their ult cycles, not doing proper flanks. You know, there was it on 66? I don't know. Happy went on a fucking flank, or no, that was a different match. Never mind. That wasn't Happy. That was somebody else. I watched so many matches that I forgot some of the stuff and what happened. Some of it blended together. But there are situations where this team should be really good, like I always keep saying. But Mayhem. The Mayhem are playing really good. I'm calling them, they remind me a lot of, if you guys remember in 2020, the way that the Atlanta Reign played. They would beat most teams on their level and below, but any team that was above them, they got absolutely dumpstered. And with a young team like this, a lot of talent, some of it unknown, coming in, you can live with that a little bit. All right, I don't have a problem with them getting beat by teams that are allegedly better than them initially in this stage of the tournament. They're growing, they're getting their synergy together, they're learning to play with each other, and a lot of these guys are proving themselves to be really, really good and better than we expected. One of those guys is Someone. Someone is absolutely fucking killing it right now. Same thing with Sir Majed. He's looking really, really good. Checkmate's looking good. All of these guys are starting to look good. And even the guy that, when he was on the Dynasty, I used to get on all the time. A lot of it I blame Creative for some reason. I don't know why. The problems with their support line. But Onimo's playing decent enough. And then you add in Eggsy coming in, and they have Hydrant as well. So if you look at this team, and then they have guys on the bench that are decent as well. The potential of Eggsy coming in and doing some stuff is always going to be fantastic for them. He played on Dorado against New York. You know, they got him in a little bit. But, you know, you got a lot of good guys on this team, and they're going to give... If Washington is on their game, Washington potentially, you could say, is better, but I don't trust Washington that much. Now, let's go to the tail of the tape. Okay, so... Washington, tank-wise, we have Mag and Kalios versus Adam and Someone. Hate me, but I'm going, the way they're playing right now, especially Someone, I'm going with the Mayhem on this one. Someone's been playing really, really well. They have not really used Adam that much, if at all, and they haven't had a need to. So you have Someone playing really well. Mag is shaky at best. Kalios, okay, you bring him in for Zarya, maybe. I'll give you that. He's good. But I still think right now I like someone better. Someone better than whatever the Justice throw out. Now, Mag's on his game like he was in Contenders, that's a different story, but he hasn't really showed that to me yet. Consistently. There's points where he's owned, but it's not consistent. Let's go to DPS. We have Decay and Happy, along with Assassin, Exy, Hydron, and Checkmate. The Decay factor in here makes me lean on Washington slightly. I like what Florida's DPS are doing. I like Hydron. I like Exy coming in. Once he gets into the flow, he's going to look good, I'm sure. And Checkmate is also looking really good. But Decay and Happy, when they're on their game, they're hard to beat. Happy's Soldier 76 is really good. That and his Widowmaker obviously is ungodly. If he gets a chance, he plays Hanzo or something like that. He's phenomenal. I just think that they got a little bit more of an edge in DPS. And we're going with all systems go. Decay's not off picking his nose or with his finger in his ass somewhere trying to pulse bomb into nothing. And Happy's trying to carry and all that kind of shit. We're talking about flat out everybody's in the game. I gotta lean on Washington on that. That leaves us with supports. Sir Majed and Onimo versus Krillin and Opener. And I did not say closer for the first time this year. Until just now, but you know what I mean. I gotta go Sir Majed and Onimo. I think they're playing really, really well. Sir Majed is up there with a lot of the Anastats and things like that. Onimo is playing phenomenally for the Mayhem. I think it's close, though, because I think Krillin is proving some people wrong. He has looked good at a lot more occasions than I expected him to. Opener has looked decent enough as well. But I think that Sir Majed's lethality, he's a little bit better on some of the other angles and things that you do. Krillin's really good with the bio needs. Yes, that's very, very important. And I just think Onimo's been playing a really good Lucio at points more often than not. Let's put it that way. So, where am I going in this match? Guys, I'm a Mayhem fan. You all know this. I'm going to go in this match. I'm going 3-2 Mayhem in a close one. But if Washington plays the way they played against certain teams like Atlanta, then Mayhem could be in trouble. But I'm still sticking with the Mayhem because I don't trust the Justice. And I'm a fan. But it's got to come out once in a while. So that's the first match. Let's move on to the next match. We got Rain Gladiators. Battle some big boys here. Gladiators dug themselves into a hole, 2 reverse sweeps in a row. They got a big match they got to take care of. We talked a lot about this team, a lot of the things that have happened. I would like to see a little bit more ons, honestly, on that soldier. Patapan's okay. He overextends. He was the one that made the bad flank on 66 that I was about ready to blame on Happy. It just got yeeted in there like it was fucking ranked and he was going to go wreck some kids with it. Dude, you're in the pros. You're not gonna sneak up behind him. You don't have a smoke here, man. This isn't fucking Valorant. He just got fucking toasted. Anyway, I think he's gonna be good. It's just Ons is more consistent. Do you lose some flexibility? Possibly, but Soldier's so meta right now. What are you gonna switch to, Genji? Fuck, just let Ons click heads. Maybe he switches to Asher, McCree, whatever. Generally, you're not switching off the soldier anyway, unless you're desperate. So just put Ons in there. That's my thoughts on that. That's one of the biggest things. Also, I noticed there's just a little bit of a reliance too much on Kevster. Not that that's a bad thing, but I would like to see some of the pressure taken off him. And I think some of those situations where Happy, where Patapan is getting eliminated early, because if you look at his stats, and you know how stats mean something, but he's like out of like the top 15 or 16, some of the stats are bad, man. He dies a lot. His tack visors aren't great, and that puts a lot of pressure on Kevster to hit pulse bombs and to do a lot of stuff, or just go off on Echo. if he plays Echo, whatever happens with that, they need to, if they put Ons in there and just, Ons, you play legs and just go kill people. It'll take pressure off of Kevster. I think that was a lot of some of the things I noticed. He was really, seemed like he was pressing. I have to make a play, I have to make a play, I have to make a play. And when you're getting other DPSs getting knocked off, and he's playing Soldier, and they do a lot of damage and stuff like that, and you go around on Tracer and you're cleaning up, there's nothing to clean up if your fucking Soldier's dead. And it's 5v5 now. So, yeah, that's just one of those things where I think that they need to work on that. The Reign, they did not look good against the Justice. That was a bad showing. Yeah, all right, they came back and they clobbered Vancouver, but who hasn't? Maybe that was a good sign in there. It seems like they're kind of leaning out of the Doomfist. Doomfist seems to have been gotten found out, but we all kind of were expecting it. We saw Gator in there doing some Winston things. I don't have a problem with that at all. But you can also put Hawk in there and play Zarya. So they're okay with what they got going on. But I still like the Winston comps. Maybe call me a simp for the dive, and Venom and Kai are looking pretty decent. Their support line looks fantastic, and Ultraviolet OG, they're getting more experience. You're going to have matches like they did against the Justice. It's just the way it is. When you're on that level that they're playing at, you're going to have slip-ups, especially with new members on the team and things like that. Yeah, the Justice look good though. They kind of smacked them around. It's concerning, but it's not desperate concerning. They also have another match in front of that against London to work on more stuff with Gator, because they were running Hawk all the time, playing the Doomfist, occasionally swapping out here and there. So I think the Reign are going to be okay. Gladiators as well. They're both insanely good teams. So let's break it down. Tail of the tape time. Tanks. Gator Hawk versus Reiner and Space. Haven't seen much of Space, but I'm calling this kind of even right now. Depending on who you get in for the Reign, and I'm pretty sure unless Glad start going more Zarya, you're going to see Reiner. So I'm going to go even in this on the tank line. Support line, Shu, Funny Astro, Ultraviolet OG. Very close, but I'm going to lean on the veterans in this, on the Gladiators and Shu and Funny Astro. Funny Astro did have a little bit of trouble in missed a couple beats here and there, but that's going to happen. And conversely, same thing has happened with OG. Not often, but him and Ultraviolet were a little off against Washington, but I'm still leaning on Shu and Funny Astro on this. DPS, Kai Venom Nero or Ons Patapan and Kevster. I'm going with the Gladiators on this one too. Kevster is a hard carry. He's a role star and he is looking really good. And that is the main reason really why, I did say you got to take some pressure off of him, but that's a whole different angle on that. I think that if you get Ons in there and let him go, let him rip on 76, you're going to be fine. I also think Patapan will be okay. I just think he needs to get used to playing at this level with these guys in this game. Remember, he hasn't played for a year. He was really good before. I just think he needs to work on some things, get his confidence back, and I think he'll be okay. But he's not as major of a detriment as I'm making him out to be. It's just he had some moments that were not the greatest and part of a whole collapse of the Gladiators against the Shock. But I'm going to lean on that. So who do I like in this match? I am going to go with the LA Gladiators 3-2. I think they get it this time. I think the Reign just have a little bit less in certain spots. The Gladiators are poised to win one of these matches, not get reverse swept, go into the tournament positive. I think this is what they're looking for. A big match. They've had 2 in a row. This is another one. They can work on some stuff against London, get some stuff ironed out, even put Patapan in there on a couple of maps maybe, get him back, get a little confidence in there, put Ons in there, whatever you want to do, figure out your DPS line, get it rolling. And I just think that they're going to win this one. In the end, it's going to be, in my opinion, a tight match. I can't wait to watch that. it's going to be a good way to end Sunday before we dive into tournament stuff. All right, guys, that's going to be my second map preview of the week. Now let's go to the pick'ems for week 4. Okay, we're going to go right down these. I'll give you my map score and who I like in them. Here we go. Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Gladiators taking on the London Spitfire. I like the Gladiators 3-0. Next up, we have the Defiant taking on the New York Excelsior. I have the Toronto Defiant 3-0 in this. Good rebound game for them. Next up, last match of Friday, Shock taking on Titans. I like the Shock 3-0. Not much to be said about there. First match of Saturday, Atlanta taking on the London Spitfire at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I like London. Whoa, where am I going there? I like Atlanta 3-0. Next match, we have Houston taking on Paris. I like Houston 3-0. Final match of Saturday, we talked about this one earlier. Mayhem taking on the Justice. I like the Mayhem 3-2 in a tight one. On the Sunday, 3 p.m., we have Dallas taking on Boston. I like Dallas 3-0 in that. Finally, the last match of the weekend, Atlanta taking on the Gladiators. I like the Glads 3-2, as we said just a second ago. All right, there you go, guys. This is my pick'ems. I'm looking pretty good. I am 31-9 right now. I got roiled by the APAC madness last week. But yeah, 31-9, not bad. I would like to be better, but here we are. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thanks a lot for joining me. It's been a blast. I'd just like to thank you once again for all your support, all of you guys that have been with me for 1 day or for 5 years. Thank you very much. And if you're new and you made it all the way to the end of the video, thanks a lot for sticking around. If you could hit a like, hit a subscribe, that would be fantastic. You know, all the YouTube jazz helps me out, gets me up in the rankings. Tell your friends, tell your family, get them in here. We want to talk about Overwatch League and get this conversation rolling. I'm having a blast talking to you guys in the comments and stuff like that about matches and players and things like that. It's been great, and I love getting your opinions too. It's fantastic. All right, guys, this is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.